I'm standing at my bedroom window, watching the neighbour's cat walk along the fence. It's that hour just before dusk, when everything looks softer, almost blurred at the edges. The cat stops, sits down, begins to clean its paw with that focused patience only cats seem to have. I've been watching this same cat make this same walk for 3 years now, ever since the Hendersons moved in next door. I'm 77. On good days, that's just a number. On bad days, it feels like a weight I carry in my chest. There's a box on my closet shelf that I haven't opened in 11 years. I know exactly what's in it without looking. Letters, mostly. A few photographs. A birthday card I never sent. A recipe for lemon cake written in handwriting that isn't mine. Small things that somehow became enormous things because of all the time that's passed around them. The box belonged to my sister, Margaret, Maggie, we called her. She died in 2014, a week after her 68th birthday. Pancreatic cancer. By the time they found it, there was nothing to be done. She had 4 months. She got 3. We hadn't spoken in 16 years. People always ask what the fight was about, when I tell them this. As if there must have been one big, terrible thing, one unforgivable moment that split us apart. But it wasn't like that. It was smaller than that, and somehow worse. It started with our mother's funeral. Maggie thought I hadn't done enough to help in those last months when Mum was sick. I thought she was being unfair, that I'd done everything I could while working full-time and raising 2 teenagers. She said something sharp about how I'd always put my own life first. I said something sharp back about how she'd always needed to be the martyr. We were both exhausted and grieving, and we said things we'd probably been holding in for years. After the funeral, we didn't call each other. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. I kept thinking she should apologize first. She probably thought the same thing. And then, enough time had passed that it felt awkward to reach out. What would I even say? Sorry I didn't call for 6 months? A year? I'd pick up the phone sometimes, dial the first 3 numbers, and then put it down. Tell myself I'd do it tomorrow, next week, after the holidays, when I wasn't so busy, when I'd figured out the right words. I'd see something that would make me think of her. A particular shade of blue she always loved. Butterscotch candies, which she ate by the handful. Old episodes of the shows we used to watch together on Sunday nights when we were young. And every time, I'd feel this pull to call her, this ache. And then I'd remember the fight, remember my pride, remember that she hadn't called me either, and I'd let it go. My husband, Bill, would say gently, "Why don't you just call your sister?" And I'd say, "She knows where I am if she wants to talk." As if we were teenagers waiting to see who would crack first, instead of women in our 50s and then our 60s, watching the years slip past. There were things I wanted to tell her. My daughter's wedding, my son's divorce. When Bill had his surgery, and I was so frightened I couldn't sleep. When I lost my job at 62 and didn't know what I was going to do. She would have known what to say. She always did. And there were things I wanted to ask her. About Mum. About those last months. What she'd been like in the hospital. What they'd talked about. Whether Mum had asked about me. I wanted to tell Maggie that I was sorry. That she'd been right. That I had been so wrapped up in my own life that I hadn't seen how much she was carrying. But 16 years is a long time. The longer it went, the higher the wall became. I'd imagine calling, and it felt impossible. How do you bridge that much silence? How do you even start? "Hi, it's me. I know it's been 16 years, but..." It seemed absurd. Too much time had passed. The moment for reconciliation had come and gone, I told myself. We'd become strangers who used to be sisters. Except we weren't strangers. She was still the girl who held my hand on the first day of school, who shared a bedroom with me for 18 years and knew all my secrets, Who called me at 2 in the morning when her first husband left her and cried so hard she couldn't breathe? Who taught my daughter how to braid her hair? Who made that lemon cake for every birthday until we stopped speaking? I got the call from her daughter, my niece Emma. "Aunt Jean," she said, and I knew from her voice that something was very wrong. "It's Mom. She's sick. It's cancer. It's bad." I asked if I could visit. Emma said yes, said her mother had asked for me. That stopped my heart. She'd asked for me. After all those years, after all that silence, she still wanted to see me. I went to the hospital the next day, bought flowers in the gift shop, threw them away, bought them again, stood outside her room for 5 minutes trying to breathe, trying to think of what to say. When I finally walked in, she was asleep. She looked so small in that bed. My little sister, who'd always been plump and rosy, was thin and grey. I sat in the chair next to her and waited. She woke up an hour later, looked at me, said, "Jean?" Just my name, but the way she said it, I heard everything. Relief and sorrow and 16 years of missing each other. I said, "Hi, Maggie." We looked at each other. I was crying. She was crying. And then we were both laughing a little, at ourselves, at the absurdity of it all. "I'm sorry," I said. I should have called. I should have called years ago." "Me too," she said. "I was so stubborn." We both were. She reached for my hand. Her grip was weak, but it was there. "I missed you," she said. "I missed you too. So much." I visited every day after that. We talked about some things. The years we'd missed. Her grandchildren. My grandchildren. The funny parts. The surface parts. But we didn't talk about the fight. We didn't talk about why it had lasted so long, about the pride and the hurt and the stubbornness. We didn't talk about all the times we'd almost called and didn't. We didn't talk about Mom, about what really happened, about the things I wanted to apologize for. I kept thinking we had time. She was responding to treatment, the doctors said. She might have a year, maybe more. We'd have time to talk about the hard things, time to really clear the air, time to say everything that needed to be said. But she went downhill faster than anyone expected. 1 week, she was sitting up, talking, eating a little. The next week, she was sleeping most of the time. The week after that, she was gone. At the funeral, Emma gave me the box. "Mum wanted you to have this," she said. Inside were letters. Letters Maggie had written to me over the years and never sent. 16 years of letters. Some were long, pages and pages. Some were short, just a few lines. Birthday wishes. Stories about her grandchildren. Thoughts about getting older. Questions about my life. Apologies. Explanations. Everything she wanted to say and didn't. I had my own stack of unsent letters at home. Different words, but the same meaning. We'd both been writing to each other in the silence, just never mailing the letters. That was 11 years ago. I think about it every single day. Not dramatically, not with big gestures or tears. Just quietly, the way you notice a scar on your hand or a stain on the wall that's been there so long you don't really see it anymore, but you know it's there. I think about the 16 years we lost. 238 weeks. 5,840 days. All because neither of us could be the first to bend. All because I kept thinking tomorrow, next month, next year. All because I was waiting for the perfect words, the perfect moment, the perfect way to cross that divide. The thing I didn't understand then, the thing I was too proud or too scared to see, is that there is no perfect moment. There's only the moment you choose to act. And if you keep waiting, eventually you run out of moments. I know now that the conversation wouldn't have been perfect. We probably would have stumbled through it, said things wrong, misunderstood each other, cried, or gotten frustrated, or needed to take breaks. It would have been awkward and hard and messy, but it would have been real, and we would have had each other back. We could have had those 16 years, birthday phone calls and holiday dinners and Sunday afternoon visits. I could have known her grandchildren when they were small. She could have been there when Bill had his surgery. We could have just been sisters again, with all the ordinary, complicated, beautiful mess that means. Instead, I have a box on my shelf and a hole in my life that's never going to close. Sometimes I look at the relationships around me and I see the same thing happening. A daughter who hasn't called her mother in months over some slight. A brother who stopped speaking to his sister over money. Friends who drifted apart after a misunderstanding and never found their way back. All of them waiting for the other person to make the first move, waiting for the right words to come, waiting for it to feel easier. I want to tell them that it won't get easier. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes. The wall gets higher, the silence gets louder, and time doesn't care about your pride or your fear or your hurt feelings. It just keeps moving, and one day you realize you're out of it. But I don't tell them, usually, because I learned a long time ago that people don't really hear advice about these things until they're ready to hear it, until they've lost someone or come close to losing someone and felt that particular kind of regret that lives in your chest like a stone. What I do instead is try not to make the same mistake twice. When my son and I have tension between us, I push through the discomfort and talk about it. When my daughter seems distant, I call her even when I'm not sure what to say. When Bill and I argue, I don't let the silence stretch. I remember what silence cost me. It's not easy. I'm still stubborn. I still have pride. I still feel that resistance, that voice that says, wait, not now, later, when you're not so tired, when you've figured out the right words. But now I know that voice is a liar. There are no right words. There's just honesty and love and the willingness to be vulnerable. And those things don't get easier with time. They just get more necessary. I'm 77 years old. I don't have 16 years to waste anymore. I probably don't have 6, maybe not even 1. None of us do, really. We just pretend we do when we're younger. The box is still on my shelf. I've read every letter multiple times. Sometimes I take it down and hold it and think about my sister, about how much I loved her, about how much I love her still, about all the conversations we had and all the ones we didn't have. And I think about the fact that somewhere, in someone else's house, there might be another box, another stack of letters, another conversation that keeps getting postponed, another person thinking they have time, they'll do it later. It's too awkward now. I can't tell you what to do. I'm just an old woman standing at a window, watching a cat walk along a fence, thinking about the people I've loved and lost, and the chances I didn't take when I had them. But if there's someone in your life you've been meaning to talk to, someone you've been avoiding or waiting on or building walls with, I hope you don't wait as long as I did. I hope you pick up the phone tonight, or tomorrow, or next week, and you say the imperfect words that need to be said. Because the conversation won't be perfect. It might be difficult. It might not fix everything. But at least you'll have had it. At least you'll have tried. At least when you're 77 and standing at a window thinking about the people you loved, you won't be wondering what might have been said if only you'd been brave enough to say it. The cat has finished cleaning its paw and moved on. The light is fading. In a little while, I'll close the curtains and make dinner, and maybe call my daughter just to say hello. Tomorrow I'll wake up, and the box will still be on my shelf, and my sister will still be gone, and I'll still carry this particular weight. But I'll also wake up knowing that I won't make that mistake again, that the people I love will know I love them, that the conversations that need to happen will happen, messy and imperfect as they might be. Maggie would like that, I think. She always did like it when I finally stopped being stubborn. I miss her. I'll always miss her. And I'll always wish I'd called.